America's Evil Genius, back with you once again. And by now, we've all heard the now infamous remark from President Obama in a speech a couple weeks ago where he said, and I quote, "If you've got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen." Okay, pardon the bad Obama impersonation. I've got like 3 months left to get the impersonation of this dude down, so I'm working on it, okay? But nevertheless, that phrasing, if you've got a business, you didn't build that, somebody else made that happen, it has been absolutely controversial. We briefly mentioned it on this show a couple of weeks ago, but since that time, it's really taken on a life of its own. And now it seems as though the White House and the Obama campaign are in full-scale damage control over this. And we're going to talk about exactly how and why that's happening this week. But before we get into the nuts and bolts of it, I wanted to take a moment to go back to the America's Evil Genius World Tour. Over the last week, I have been fortunate enough to be on several different programs and different formats and different things I've been doing out there all over the internet. A lot of it's archived. So any of you who have missed any of my appearances in the last week, and shame on you if you did, here is where you can go see some of the best of my appearances over the last week. So as we mentioned at the top of the show, the "you didn't build that" phrase has really taken on a life of its own all over this country ever since Barack Obama said it. And of course, Obama and his people are in full-scale damage mode, damage control over this thing. Earlier this week, on the 25th of July, there was an article written over at thehill.com by a writer named Justin Sink, who goes into detail about what all's happening, you know, and you've seen signs now at Romney events where people saying, yes, I did build this, and different things like that. People are having some fun with it, and it's really resonating with the right in a way that I'm not sure Obama and his people ever thought that it would. Now, Barack Obama has gone into, as I said, some damage control. He's released a TV ad earlier this week where he tries to, I don't know if you want to say walk back the phrase or put it in more of a context that is favorable to him. But in his ad, I'm going to quote from Barack Obama here. He says this, quote, "Those ads taking my words about small business out of context, they're flat out wrong." Okay, so the president is saying that those of us who have attacked him over this phrase are taking his words out of context. Is that so? Well, let's find out. I happen to have in my grubby little hands here the entire speech that line came from, the entire thing. Not a short speech. Obama speeches usually are not. But let's go through the context of it. Let's put that idea to the test here. Here is the full paragraph of what Barack Obama said, and I quote, and I'll spare you the impersonation this time. "If you were successful, somebody along the line gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life. Somebody helped to create this unbelievable American system that we have that allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you've got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. The internet didn't get invented on its own. Government research created the internet so that all the companies could make money off the internet." Now, setting aside for a second that actually wasn't the reason the internet was created, that's another discussion for another time, you can see by the context of that whole thing that Barack Obama is inferring that the only way anybody's successful, the only way that anybody's made any money at all is because of government-funded infrastructure. That infrastructure that the government put in place is the only reason or the majority reason why people are successful. And if you've got a business and you're successful, it's that government infrastructure that did it for you. It wasn't you. It wasn't you at all. Well, the GOP, the Republican Party, sent out a TV ad in retort to this that basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but when you do take it in context, it's even more offensive. Now, it's true that any of us who have been successful, whether wealthy or moderately wealthy or middle class or whatever we are, whatever we put together for ourselves, it's true that there are people along the way that may have assisted us or helped us or that we've worked with and so forth. Everybody has that happen to them. But it's going a little bit far, I think, to say that it's the government that facilitates having all of that happen. Frankly, a capitalist society does that quite well. It matches people together who can provide things for other people who need those things. And that's how an economy grows. There's two very clear flaws in the logic that Barack Obama is using in that paragraph. The first flaw is this. Prior to all the influx of government infrastructure, your roads and your bridges and so forth, there were still people who started and ran businesses and did quite well with them. There were still some people that became quite wealthy doing that. And that fact nullifies Obama's inference that such infrastructure is a necessity to make a business successful. Clearly it is not, because businesses were successful in the 1700s and the 1800s before this massive influx of government interference happened. The second flaw is this. Obama is inferring that the taxpayers funding that infrastructure are really the people who build those things. Well, if that's true, then really, you're talking about the same people. When you tell a business owner that he didn't build that, the taxpayers did, you're really talking about the same person. Why are you talking about the same person? Well, there's this little factoid that Mr. Obama doesn't like to tell you about very often. It's the factoid of who pays what in terms of income tax. Going back to the tax year of 2008, and we've mentioned these stats in this program before, the top 1% of the wage earners paid 38% of the total federal income tax. The top 5% paid 58.72%. The top 10% paid almost 70%, 69.94 to be exact. Meanwhile, the bottom 50% of the wage earners, they paid 2.7% of the tax. So what all of that means is that all of those rich, successful business owners who didn't build that because the infrastructure supposedly built it for them, if you believe that faulty concept, that faulty idea that the infrastructure of government is what made you successful, then guess what? You still built it because you're the one paying the taxes. The bottom 50% aren't paying diddly poo. So there's two very clear reasons that the reasoning of our esteemed president is horrific, to say the least. And the message has not been received well. I'm certainly not the only American to see right through this. So many others have as well. Quoting now from the Hill article, a couple of different people have had some insight to this. The first one is a Republican strategist named Ford O'Connell, and he says, and I quote, "Obama did for Romney what Romney couldn't do for himself, which is to create a clear contrast and unlock emotions on the key issues of the campaign. It helps Romney with independents, with GOPers, and with white working-class Democrats who needed an economic message that they could rally around." Going further, Republican National Committee Communications Director Sean Spicer was on CNN, for the 6 people that still watch CNN, and he said this, and I quote, "I think there's definitely a little bit of panic in Chicago right now because they realize this comment has clearly struck a chord with the American people." And struck a chord it has. You can forget political party or political affiliation, or whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, a conservative, a liberal, a moderate, or whomever the heck you decide you want to be, you can forget all that and set it to the side. There is nobody in America, whether they're rich, they're poor, they're middle class, whatever, there's absolutely nobody in this country who wants to be told that the sacrifices they've made, the decisions they've made, and the contributions to their own lives that they've made, there's absolutely nobody that wants to be told that those things are minimal. There's absolutely nobody that wants to have their contributions to their own life viewed in a minimal context. But that's exactly what Barack Obama is doing right here. He's saying you are not successful because you're only successful because everybody else has allowed you to be. Now, is there anybody who actually wants to hear that message? And again, I'm not talking about just the wealthiest 1%. I'm talking about every darn one of us. Whatever you have, whether you're extremely rich or whether you're much more modestly well off, whatever you have that you've put together for yourself and your family, whatever success you've put together, whatever you've managed to scrape together, you're essentially being told you were not the deciding factor in it. You were not the key factor in it. You're lucky. There's a lot of hardworking people out there who realize that what they've done in life is not based off of luck. They might have had some fortunate incidents along the way. We all do sometimes. We all have some unfortunate incidents. but they know their decision-making over the long term is what put them in the place that they are in. Obama, throughout this whole campaign, has continually shoehorned himself with the victims in America. Those who feel that they do not have what it takes to effect change in their own lives, and they need someone to effect that change for them. The problem is, for Obama, is that he's really shoehorning himself in with a group of people who really aren't growing all of that much. And I don't know that you can win an election just off of that one set of people alone. He's alienating the doers in American society. We've talked on this show many times about the battle between producers and parasites. Well, he's going right into the parasites, and he's insulting the producers. Whether we're talking about the wealthy who are producers or the middle class who are producers. Anybody who wants to make a life for themselves, start a business, put together something for themselves, Barack Obama is spitting in your face. And no amount of damage control can spin it. No amount of damage control can hide it. Obama believes and wants you to believe that you do not have what it takes to provide for the future and success of yourself and your family. Good luck trying to win an election with that kind of a defeatist message. That's it for this week. This is America's Evil Genius. We'll see you next time.